I often find myself thinking that we are in a remarkable place when it comes to technology. And even though we look back at the past on this particular pod, I mean, I recall a time when the first video game was literally a game of tennis that involved 2 blocks on a TV screen and a smaller block in between.
Oh, ping pong.
You go, beep, boop,
I love that game.
beep, boop. And now we're in the world of, well, goodness knows what, artificial intelligence, but also YouTube. And I mention that because I think YouTube as technology is great. And this is a bit of a shameless plug because this podcast, the chat that Tommy and Haley and I have, is now on YouTube. And if you're listening to this, maybe on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, do check us out on YouTube and do us a massive favor, subscribe. Subscribe is a really dodgy word because whenever I hear the word subscribe, I think it means you have to fork out money, right? Like, magazine subscription, but there's no money involved in this. It just means whenever we release a new episode of Rambling Retro Nonsense, if you're a subscriber, you get notified. So you don't have to search around for stuff. So if you fancy checking us out on YouTube, that would be fantastic. Go to YouTube, search for Rambling Retro Nonsense, and when you're there, just hit the subscribe button and then you'll be fully notified every time we create something new. Hales, you were mentioning before we hit the record button that there's a comment on one of our recent YouTube appearances.
Yeah, Mark Rowley, hi to you. You said, pleasure to subscribe. He says he loves listening to this while he's walking his dog and feeding the birds. Utterly wonderful memories every time. So there you go. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it.
A lot of stuff there to unpack, isn't it? Feeding the birds.
Walking the dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, both at the same time, apparently.
Well,
and listening to us. Multitasking.
You see, you think about it. I mean, listening to the birds, that hasn't changed in millions of years.
Was he listening or feeding the birds, Haley?
Feeding.
Feeding the birds. Feeding.
Changed.
No, it's
You know,
not
I mean,
changed.
Mary Poppins, feed the birds. But walking the dog has undergone as many transformations as Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Really. Because when I was a boy, they just used to run wild.
Yeah. Yeah.
People used to open the front gate and say to the dog, go on.
Yeah.
And they'd come back at tea time.
Yeah.
And you never knew where they'd been
Yeah.
or what they'd done,
Yeah.
which children they terrorised,
Yeah.
where they'd done their business.
It's evolved massively, actually. You're right, because I remember those times. I mean, I've got a dog. You've got a dog. I remember back in the 1970s when my neighbour had a dog. I can see it now. It was an Alsatian called Sheba.
Yeah.
And Sheba used to sit on the front lawn of this house, noshing on a big bone, a proper bone, right?
Yeah.
With bits of meat hanging off it.
Oh, yeah.
And now, increasingly, if you look at where we are today and what we feed our dogs, it's just changed.
Yeah.
I mean, you have this kind of like, well, they can have dry food, they can have wet food. There are loads of brands out there that, I mean, are just off the scale in terms of price. And you find yourself thinking, well, back in the 70s, Sheba was quite happy with a bone.
A bone.
But now you get literally haute cuisine.
The leftovers from the family tea.
Exactly that. Yeah, it's changed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has enormously. And now, we have our dogs on leads in urban areas. We should. Some people don't, and I find them very annoying. But one of the biggest difference, somebody once said to me, if they do land from planet Alpha Centauri and they look down on us,
Yeah.
they'll know who's in charge.
Yeah.
It's those creatures who are walking along 10 feet ahead of the other creature who is carrying their poo in a bag. Who's in charge?
Who's
in charge?
What a weird phenomenon.
Yeah, it's so true. There's a great comedian, and I can't remember her name. I think it's Kerry someone, who does this great routine about I love my dog, I love my dog. You know, people say I love my dog, and they go, oh, he's my best mate. It's like, yeah, but you wouldn't carry around your best mate's poo in a bag, would you?
Not until later life. No, I mean, I walk my dog every day, and she does her business on the walk, and I collect it up, even if we're out in a meadow or something.
Yeah.
And the experience, only regular dog walkers who do it. Duncan, you've got a lovely dog. Haley, you're yet to dog own, aren't you? If I'm right in thinking.
I'm a cat person, and for one of those reasons that you've just mentioned,
Absolutely.
cat people, you don't have to tidy up after cats. You don't have to pick up their poo.
You have to deal with
They go for their walks. They come back to the house and they're done. Yeah, but that's only in the house. But when they're out all day. They come back and you don't need to mess with it.
When you pick up your dog's poo in a bag,
Oh, God.
you know, it's a self-taught thing, the way you get the bag,
Yeah.
arrange the bag on your hands. And you first thing you do is you look at the stool to see how you're going to approach it.
Yeah.
Is it squidgy or is it nice and solid?
Yeah.
And down
Oh,
you pick it up,
gosh.
and the first thing that you notice is the warmth.
You do.
The warmth, because you have to wrap your fingers around it with the bag protecting your fingers.
Yeah.
And then as you lift it up to tie it, you get a whiff.
Get a whiff. A blast. You get a blast.
And you wrap it and wrap it and wrap it.
It's quite actually. I don't want this to sound. I'm going to. It's actually quite an intimate experience.
It is,
isn't it?
It
Not
is.
not in any other way apart from the fact that when you think about it, it is a very personal thing to do.
Yeah. I remember seeing a film once when we were training as a teacher. We were shown a film of animals in the wild eating and pooing, and they're vulnerable to prey in both those activities.
Yeah.
And so there was this film of a deer at a little stream, right? And the deer would stand there and look around itself, and then it would move its head about a foot down towards the water, and then come back up again and look, have another look. What's there? What's there? And my dog is the same when she's doing a poo.
Mine too.
She looks around
Yeah.
anxiously.
Yeah.
Is there a saber-toothed tiger around? What is he coming? Is he coming for me? And then when she's done her poo, she does a little scratch.
Yeah.
A token attempt to cover it up.
Yeah.
Very poor.
Yeah.
Very poor
Yeah.
attempt.
Yeah. Token.
And then she's on the lead, you see, and I'm bending down to pick the stuff up. She's gone. She wants to get as far away from her poo
Yeah.
as possible
Yeah.
because it marks her out and a predator could come running. So I'm now got one hand I'm trying to get the poo, and the other hand I'm holding on to a 4-stone dog,
Yeah.
right, that is straining at the leash.
Yeah. My dog won't poo if there's someone behind him.
I'm the same.
Yes, but for different reasons.
Yes.
So I walk him down the high street and he won't do his business if there's someone walking behind us. He waits for the person to pass.
Really?
Yeah.
No, I have not come across
Extraordinary.
one before. Really? It's so interesting.
Because maybe that person or that presence is seen as a threat.
Yes, actually, the reason we were
Maybe he's
shown...
just got dignity.
Maybe, well, you haven't met my dog.
The reason we were shown this film of animals and their sense of vulnerability when pooing or eating was because they then cut to a canteen which was full of people in 2s and 3s and 4s eating and talking and not looking vulnerable because they were in a gang.
Yeah.
But the camera then picked up the odd person who was eating on their own, and they were doing the glancing around them. Right, they're on their own. There's nobody either side of them or opposite them. They would cut up a piece of potato, put it in their mouth, start chewing, and then look around nervously, again, in case a saber-toothed tiger was coming up at them.
Well, you never know what can happen in a beef eater.
I think it's guaranteed, isn't it? It's, yeah, 2 saber-toothed tigers for the price of 1. I'm not good at feeding birds. I don't tend to do it. Do you feed the birds, Hayley?
All I can remember is being at Trafalgar Square when I was little,
Yes.
with those little tubs that you used to get and
Yes.
throwing them. And that was one of my favourite childhood memories, actually. I think we used to go every Friday or something. Yeah, lovely, actually. They don't do that
Didn't Ken
anymore, of course.
Livingston
That
ban
got
it
banned at
when
some
he was
point.
mayor of London?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I
It
think
got
it's one of the
banned.
first things he did for, I don't know what reason, but you're right. I remember going to Trafalgar Square because that was part of the trip into one of the things you do if you went to London for the day. And what you could do, if you put your arm out and put some birdseed on it, all of the pigeons would just come sit on your arm.
Swathed in
Exactly,
pigeons.
yeah.
Yes, yes. And you never see baby pigeons? Or maybe you do, but
don't know.
they're born almost fully grown. They hatch. And then, yeah, we don't. You do see little birds, don't you? They're in the nest until they can fly. But you don't. Anybody ever seen a pigeon's nest?
No.
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 Where do we stand on robins? Because there is a theory. I mean, I was at my cousin's house during the week, and she has 2 bird feeders that are kind of stuck on the window on the outside. So, and they're like windows that go onto the garden. So they're kind of stuck on. So when the bird feeds from it, you can see them really up and close through the glass. And we were there having a chat and a cup of tea, and this robin appeared. And there is a view that robins, for some people, represent someone who's died in the past, and the robin comes back to kind of like go, I'm still here. And once you start Googling it, it becomes quite an interesting thing to go and look at. You see, what I struggle with a little bit is I always associate robins with winter and Christmas time. And I don't know why, predominantly because they're normally on the front of a Christmas card. So if you see them in the summer somewhere...
It's wrong.
Yeah, but is it a sign? Is it someone who's died in your life just going...
And become a robin.
I'm here. It's supposed to be symbolic. Have a Google. I don't think they become robins, but they might.
So, not changing the subject at all, I had the flu years ago, and my grandfather had passed on some months before. And I was lying upstairs in bed, delirious. Not not ranting and raving, but I had a temperature, and my mind was active, but not in a controlled way. And there was a fly in the bedroom. And for some reason, my wish was that the fly was behaving in a way that suggested it wanted to make contact with me. So I actually said out loud, with nobody else in earshot, "If you are Grandad, come and sit on my arm." And for a brief second, I thought that the fly would land on my arm. Then what would I do? Then what would I do? You know, it would be like that my left foot moment when he realises that his son can actually have some movement, but it's only in his left foot. Yeah. But they learned to communicate via that method. Yeah. So what would you do if it turned out that the fly was indeed contains the soul of your grandfather? I'd never heard the robin thing. We had a robin in the garden the other day because I was hoeing bits of grass out of the gravel drive. And this robin thought, that'll do for the nest. Yeah. So it was following me around. Are female robins not red-breasted? Does anybody know?
No idea.
No idea.
No idea.
Oh, I don't know.
North wind will blow and we shall have snow. And what will cock robin do then? Poor thing. I can't remember the rest of it, but we always used to snigger when we got to the word cock, obviously. As primary school children would. Yeah. You know, well, that's very interesting about robins and about, karma in general. I mean, do you believe, either of you guys, are you left with the notion that it's possible that we have an immortal soul?
I don't know. I've only heard that, like when butterflies sometimes pass by, people say, "Oh, that's a sign, a good luck sign that somebody's over you and watching you, like a guardian angel." Yeah. Or a white feather. Isn't that a thing as well? Or if you see a white feather.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah. I mean, it's a nice sentiment. If I believe it or not, I'm not sure. But does it matter if it's true or not? I don't know.
I used to present a children's TV magazine programme called Magpie. And they got a singer called Spencer Davis to sing the theme tune. And he had a gravelly voice, and it always gives me adrenaline when I think of it again, and I'll do it. The song used to go, 1 for sorrow, 2 for joy. Okay? And then years later, I was working with this bloke who's a jockey, and his wife said to me one day, "Oh, Mark was late yesterday because he couldn't come in from his drive to work until he'd seen a second magpie." You come across that superstition at all?
Yeah.
He saw one magpie. Yeah. He had to see a second one.
I'm married to a woman who salutes magpies.
How?
No.
Using a hand.
Well, I know, but that's what I mean.
Why?
Because apparently, if you see one magpie on its own, it's bad luck. Yeah. And to stop that bad luck, you need to salute the magpie and say, she goes, "Good morning, Mr. Magpie."
Oh, so it's verbal salute.
And but with a hand as well.
Wow.
What sort of a salute?
Like that. It's
well, they're all different salutes.
All right, it's not a military salute.
They are.
But it's like she'll go, "Good morning, Mr. Magpie."
You got that one. She doesn't do that one, does she?
She doesn't do that one.
No, everyone knows the one.
I know. I can imagine what you're doing.
Magpies are black and white, and
you're going to get cancelled, Boyd.
Brian Ferry got away with it.
That was a long time ago.
It was. Okay.
Yeah,
but there are salutes. The British one is longest way up. No. Shortest way up, longest way down.
Right.
The American one's the opposite.
Is it?
Longest way up, shortest way down.
It is, yeah.
You see?
Yeah.
And which hand do you salute with?
Right.
Right.
Oh, I don't
A lot
know.
of those fake.
Oh, is it always a
admirals
right? It
make
doesn't
the mistake at the
matter what.
cenotaph of saluting with the.
There was a great
Can't even get-
story. Talking of fake admirals, he wasn't an admiral, but he was a fake military man. I was reading about it on the train about a month ago, and there was this guy. I want to say it's in the West Country somewhere, but that might not be right. But he used to turn up at military funerals, pretending to have served with someone who died. And at some point, someone just thought, that uniform's not quite right, and started investigating this geezer. And it turned out, for whatever reason, it was his normal life. He worked in an office, single, 9 to 5, all of this, quite a responsible job, etc. But it turned out that every weekend he'd dress up as a senior military person and go to either funerals or events. And some guy sussed him out because his uniform wasn't quite right. And he ended up stalking this bloke, quite literally, and went to his house. And it turned out in his spare room, he literally had all kinds of different costumes. Remarkable story.
There's a lot of it
That's
about.
brilliant. Does he just want to go to the buffet after or
Well, it
something?
could be
That's
that,
what he
couldn't it?
wanted.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
a bloke in America who used to be a SEAL,
Yeah.
which is sort of their equivalent of the SAS. And he sort of he exposed a fraud. They call them Walter Mitties.
Yes.
And I saw him interview this bloke, Don Shipley, his name is.
Right.
And they said to him, "So how many of you outed so far?" And he went, "Just under 9,000." 9,000 blokes.
Wow.
Not just blokes, actually. Sometimes women pretending to be distinguished military personnel. I mean, I don't know. Were you ever a Girl Guide or a brownie or something?
I was,
Were you?
yeah. I thought, well, yeah, actually, that's the point. I can't remember which one it was. I think it might have been a brownie because I have a strange, in my head now, I'm strangely seeing a brown skirt and a yellow kind of shawl thing that went over the shoulder with all the pins and badges on it.
Yes, the badges.
Every time you did some kind of activity or something, you know, I don't know if you did the shopping for an elderly neighbour or something, you got a little badge or...
Do you remember what badges you
yeah.
got? Who sewed them on?
Oh God, no! I think so. Yeah, this is all coming back to me now. I hadn't thought of that for probably 30 years or something now. And I remember somehow, was there some kind of finger sign you did? Dib, dib, dab, or
I think so. With
I'm
three
putting
fingers.
2 fingers up in front of me at the moment, or 3 maybe. Was it 3?
I think it was.
I don't know. I'm doing it now, and I feel
2.
like 2 is easier. I can't quite do 3, so that I feel a bit
against the
cat-handed doing 3. Yeah, so I don't know what that was about.
And you would meet every Thursday night in a cold and
Yeah, in the church hall. Yeah.
church hall. Yeah,
Did you have a woggle?
a woggle.
Oh, was that the tie thing that went round your neck
Yeah,
with a
bit of-
little plastic
Bit of
round
plastic
ring?
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a woggle, isn't it?
Yeah,
Do they still do brownies?
I don't
Do
know.
they still do brownies?
Do you know, I'm not that I've been looking, but there was a time you'd see brownies out and about,
Yes,
wouldn't you?
yes,
I've not seen any
yes.
brownies out and about
Yeah.
for a long, long time.
Actually, that links to one of the topics I was going to talk about today. Can I do it? Because it was actually the Scouts I was going to talk about today, just because the other day somebody knocked at our door and it was a parent with 2 young boys, probably his sons, all dressed up in what I think was a Scout uniform, dark navy blue and white stripes, saying, "Can we wash your car?" for like charity type thing.
Yeah.
And it just took me back. I remember quite vividly Saturday morning was washing the car day in my house.
Yeah.
So you get these big, massive buckets, sponges and a hose. And my parents would suggest it was a way that I could get some pocket money or it was character building. I don't know.
Yeah.
But these big yellow sponges were probably as big as my head at the time. And it was like this leather kind of microfiber cloth, I remember. I don't know, like a specialist type thing. I'm not sure. Never seen one since. And some kind of waxy shampoo type stuff that had this awful harsh smell. I remember I hated doing this actually. And it was like a full workout. You had to apply this stuff, buff it, repeat it, then soak the whole thing. There was soap studs everywhere. really like, and we kind of lived on a bit of a slope at that point, and I remember watching the soap suds kind of sliding down onto the pavement. So like for miles away, you could always tell which of your neighbours was cleaning their car that day just because of the trail of the soap suds. And then you'd always get soaked by accident or on purpose, probably as a kid, to be honest. And it was like when your parents got the hose out right at the end after you'd done all the scrubbing. That was the fun part, because you always tried to get hold of the hose and like point at each other. I remember as I was getting older, we had these like finishing touches we would do, like the polishing at the end. I probably was a bit too young at the start, and cleaning the hubcaps as well, like individually. I kind of got proud, even though it wasn't my car. When I was about 15, 16, I think it was that thing of, one day I'll have a car and this is how I'm going to treat it, like spoil it every Saturday morning. But then the fun started when we got the automatic car washes.
Yeah.
And that felt like driving into a tunnel, didn't it, when you were younger?
Quite
I remember
scary.
actually being a little bit scared of them. Yeah. Yes, because they were so loud, and you felt like these giant spinning brushes were going to come into the car, didn't you, when you were younger? You felt like the glass of the car was never going to prevent these things coming into you, and that's how you would die. And the coloured foam, usually pink, blue or yellow, would come around, wouldn't it? And watching that water cascade down the windows and making sure you took your aerial out. Do you remember you used to take the aerial off? Oh my God, I remember my parents doing that, not me, obviously. Oh gosh, it was just, so when those scouts knocked at the door the other day, I just wrote that down as a thing to talk about.
But also, you said something brilliant a few moments ago. You talked about hubcaps. You just don't see them.
Oh, we got one round here.
Have you?
Yeah, it's been here for about 2 years.
Oh.
On the verge.
Oh, on the verge. What?
Oh, I see. Sorry, I thought that was what you meant. Detached hubcaps.
Well, no, you don't get them on cars anymore.
Not in Liverpool, no.
Or anywhere. That's a low blow. What we used to do in our neighbourhood, when every car had a hubcap, you used to be able to pull them off.
Yeah.
Right? We used to get a handful of stones,
No.
put it in the hubcap and put it back on,
Borstal.
like Mr. Jones's car.
Borstal.
So when he'd be starting up and driving down the road, there'd be like this, as the stones would rotate. What? It was perfect. There was no harm happening. No body was damaged.
Really?
You just had that. Yeah. So you know what a hubcap is, don't you, Hales?
Yeah, it's just the thing that goes on the front, isn't it, of the wheel?
Yeah. But there's a little bit of space.
Where is this?
What? It's in Worthing.
This is a town that needs a bowling alley.
This is a really harmless, good fun, kind of jokey activity. You just
Does it not damage the tyres or anything?
No, not at all. Hubcap would go on to cover where your wheel nuts would be, right? Over that. So what you do, and it'd be like a concave kind of bit of metal. And what you do is you can prise them off really easily using, your key or whatever. Get some small stones, put it in there, gently put it on. So when the wheel rotates, it makes a racket.
You see,
That's what I mean. But surely that racket is because it's doing some damage, no?
No, it's because it's rotating, because the wheel's going round and round. It's just going...
the reason I mentioned Liverpool, because it was there that they invented the scam of nicking the hubcap off somebody's car, and then 2 weeks later going round and knocking on the door and saying, "Do you want to buy a hubcap, mate?"
Yeah.
And of course he did.
Sound.
Brilliant.
He's got one missing. He didn't know where he lost it.
Brilliant.
But some kids found a hubcap.
That's called enterprise.
It's called Liverpool. Anyway.
And I know you can get them in all different colours now as well, where back in the day they were just a standard silver or whatever, but now you can get pink, red and blue if you wanted.
Anybody here
Although
bought
no one has them.
a new car? Hayley, have you ever bought a new car?
No, always
all right.
second hand.
Yes,
I
same here.
think the newest I had was about 3 years old, I think.
What put you, Duncan?
No.
What puts me off new cars, along with a lot of things, such as somebody once said to me, it's worth £5,000 less the minute you drive off the forecourt in it. But the other thing is all the options. I can't be asked with all the options, what sort of upholstery you want, what sort of finish you want on the dashboard. But and again, hubcaps on wheels. Well, I don't know what an alloy is. It's one vowel away from being the member of the Allied Service. I mean, and so I give up there. I go to the website, right, and I see the car is always being driven along an empty road.
Yes.
On a cliff top.
Yes.
Even if they're being driven through the city.
Yeah.
there are not only no other cars, there are no pedestrians.
No traffic lights, no speed
Nothing
cameras.
at all.
No.
And those two dimbos driving it, it's usually him impressing her, and they're aged about 23, and they've got this gormless smile on their face because they've just brought the new whatever it is.
Yeah, I think you have to be
Bim Bom
really interested in cars, really interested.
to do that sort of thing.
To buy a brand new one.
Yeah.
And I'm not.
Can you tell cars
Yeah.
apart, Hayley? Can you, if a car
Or
was
intend
coming...
to sell it or something.
Yeah. If you saw a car coming 100 yards away, could you go, oh, look, that's a Toyota?
I could.
Could you?
I used to be quite into cars when I was a kid. Not into them, but I know the difference between... Well, actually, my first ever job, and we talked about it on this podcast, was as a customer services coordinator at automotive leasing. So I had to know my motors.
Did you?
Yeah.
You couldn't BS your way through that?
No. You have to know your BMWs from your Lexus. You have to. Because you're dealing with men who get a car allowance. You want a
Okay.
top-of-the-range Beamer,
when you
so you
were
have
a-
to excite them.
Oh,
When you were a
right.
girl, did you hanker after a particular car, a pink Rolls Royce or a Lamborghini? And same question for you, Duncan. What was your hanker after car when you were a wee one?
Oh, I think it was a little Mini. I think that's what I wanted, a Mini. Just because I thought they were really cute. And actually, I still think they are cute, even the new ones like the Mini Coopers and stuff
Yeah,
that
I
they
think
have.
they're good. They're good.
Alex
remember-
Isigonis.
Easy Gnosis, I thought. So Alex,
Isigonis,
yeah,
I believe.
iconic. In answer to your question, yeah, it was a Ford Capri, and I'll tell you why. 2 reasons.
Yeah.
I had a babysitter called Lois.
Right,
Lois had a boyfriend called Kevin.
right.
Kevin had a Ford Capri.
Yeah.
Around the same time, The Professionals was on the telly in the early 1980s with Bodie and Doyle. What
Right.
did they drive? Ford
It was,
Capris.
it was the subject matter of a lot of tasteless Essex jokes, the Ford Capri, about loveless sex in the back of a Ford Capri. And how does an Essex woman turn the light on? She kicks open the door in the Ford Capri.
Are we going to do Essex jokes? I'll do an Essex joke
Oh,
for you.
gosh.
Yeah, excellent.
What's an Essex girl's favourite wine?
Don't know.
I want to go to blue wine.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Oh,
I
gosh.
haven't got any more. I like Essex. It's a great county.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not going to argue with that. I've only been twice.
Have you?
Yes, what's that joke that ends with he tried it twice. The first time he was sick, and the second time his hat blew off. But I can't remember the feed line.
I don't know what the feed line is. It'll be all manner of feed lines.
When I worked as a stand-up comic, all you had to do was remember the punchline. You don't have to remember the joke.
Yeah.
You remember the punchline.
Yeah.
But on odd occasions, I'd remember the punchline, but genuinely couldn't remember the joke that led up to it.
Yeah.
Like a joke I really want to get back, which is 2 flies in a bakery, and one of them says something like, "Shall we go and sit on an eclair?" And the other fly replies, "Why not? We're on a roll." Now, it's a joke of mine that I actually developed myself, but it's my own joke, but I can't remember it. Because that middle line, sitting on an eclair, you wouldn't want to go and sit on a roll. No, you wouldn't. You might want to go from a roll to an eclair. Do you see what I mean? It's
Yes.
the technicalities of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. You've got to really understand the fly's mind, haven't you? For it to
We're back
work.
to the mind of a fly.
Mind of a fly.
Yes.
I've enjoyed this.
Let us live in hope that the listener at least has got halfway to that.
There are ways of getting in contact, and we love voice notes. We love voice notes. Can we have some voice notes, please, so we can play them out? Because that'll be great. WhatsApp us your voice note, 07405 341 500, 07405 341 500. Of course, you can just send a text, or rather, some words to that, but voice notes would be great. And the email address is ramblingretrononsense, so that's all one word, no spaces, no dots, no dashes, ramblingretrononsense@gmail.com. And yes, if you've discovered us on YouTube and you're listening via YouTube, please hit that subscribe button. If you're listening via Apple Podcasts or Spotify, do hop over to YouTube and subscribe as well, because YouTube is where it's happening. And at some point in the future, if you're a YouTube subscriber, there may well be some special content for you. So it's worth you hitting subscribe on YouTube.
See you next time, guys. Good work. Bye.